Happy Tuesday. It's time for some tea with T on this Talk Therapy Tuesday. I'm Tania McLean-Nicholas, licensed marriage family therapist and owner of Renewed Hope Counseling. Did you know that one of the top 3 stressors for American people is work? And this makes absolute sense because American employees spend at least 47 hours a week at work. And that's a lot of time. If you estimate there's only 120 hours in a Monday through Friday work week, and at least 6 to 8 of those hours are usually spent sleeping. So that leaves about a third of the time that we spend working. Not to mention the time your mind spends thinking about your job once you clock out or even log off now. Given that work is a huge part of people's lives, setting boundaries at work should be a priority because it helps people to be more efficient and less stressed out. So today I'm going to be talking about setting boundaries at work. So go ahead and grab your tea or your coffee, whichever you prefer, and let's dig in. So what is a boundary? A boundary is a line that separates one person, place, or thing from another person, place, or thing. Think of your property line. That is there to separate you from your neighbor, and it shows you what you're responsible for and what your neighbor is responsible for. Boundaries are not just physical or tangible, but they're emotional and intangible. So a boundary can also separate your feelings, your needs, and your responsibilities from others. Your boundaries can also tell other people how they can treat you, what's acceptable, and even what's not. Boundaries at work are the physical, emotional, and mental limits that you create to protect yourself from overcommitting, compromising your integrity, and preventing burnout. A misconception about setting boundaries in the workplace is that having good boundaries will distance you from other people, or maybe you'll even be seen as not dedicated, inflexible, or just not being a team player. This is not true. Good boundaries help you to see where you end and where others begin. And in doing this, you're going to be more productive and can then closely engage without feeling overwhelmed or even burnt out. So think of boundaries as rules that govern your time and your energy. So here's some examples of setting boundaries at work. Saying no to projects that you're unable to take on due to a full workload. Ending work at a certain time. Closing the doors when you need to concentrate. Limiting the amount of time you check your emails. Asking people not to call your home after work, about work, or even after a certain time. Approaching your manager about a specific situation that may violate your boundaries and working together to find a solution. Honoring the goals that you set for yourself. Limiting work conversation to specific topics. Practicing healthy detachment from worries and criticism. Being mindful of your tone in the workplace. Taking time to be totally offline, especially when you're at home. Leaving work at work and not bringing it home with you. Setting healthy boundaries at work is a balance. You don't want to be too loose or too rigid. So here are some steps to establishing good work boundaries. Know what's important to you. Knowing what you value is the first step in knowing how and where to set boundaries. Evaluate how you feel, where your frustrations lie, and what you need to do to protect your happiness and your peace. If you know that daily exercise or making your child's practices for their sporting events is important to you, you're going to set a boundary around working overtime. If enjoying family dinner time is important, you want to be present for your family, you're going to want to set a boundary around leaving work on time, making sure that you're not checking your emails or returning calls or answering the phone during your dinner time. Make sure to communicate your boundaries clearly. Be open, honest, and clear about what you will do or what you won't do, or what you'll participate in, or even what you won't. An example of this could be gossip. Set a rule for yourself and make a request from others about what you need moving forward. You may politely communicate you don't want to listen to an hour of gossip during your lunch break with your coworker, but you send a passive and unclear message if you listen during that hour and you say nothing. You usually end up leaving the situation feeling frustrated and overwhelmed, which then impacts your work productivity, your relationships at work, and even your relationships at home. Bring up boundary violations immediately and with compassion. Concentrate on being compassionate when telling people you feel your boundaries are not being respected. Most people are not even aware of how their actions impact you. And they'll even appreciate being told that they crossed the line so they can avoid making that mistake again in the future. Be ready for boundary breaches and pushback. At some point, someone's going to cross your boundary, or at least attempt to. Visualize and prepare for a response. The more prepared that you are and how you want to respond to that boundary breach, the less likely you're going to operate in your emotions, which will only make a situation worse. Also, be prepared for pushback once you set a boundary. Some people don't like this type of change because your inability to set a boundary with them has benefited them and has created some sense of entitlement. So this should further affirm why the boundaries were necessary from the beginning. Don't let this stop you from setting a boundary. Setting boundaries at work takes time and practice. It may be frustrating at first, and then there'll be times that boundaries will get crossed. But once you get in the habit of setting healthy boundaries in the workplace, you'll notice a better attitude within yourself, improvement in your work productivity, and a better balance between your work and even your personal life. And this will lower your level of stress and burnout and will give you overall happiness and peace of mind. Well, that's it for today. I hope that you enjoyed your tea with T on this Talk Therapy Tuesday. I'm Tania McLean-Nicholas, and I hope that you have a beautiful day.